Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is basically going to be a video about the potential for a big storm again. We've been talking about it for the past couple of days. This storm, the amounts of snow have increased actually with this system, so that's interesting to point out. And I'll also be addressing a few issues and talking about the long range and the potential for a large storm next week. So before we get further into this video, consider subscribing to this channel, consider liking this video, and you could also support me on Patreon. The link is in the description box below. That's really helpful, and it really means a lot. But if you can't do that, just at least consider subscribing and liking the video. So thank you so much for that. So a few days ago, or actually I think it was yesterday, I got a comment, and it was basically I got one or two comments, and they were basically talking about how these videos have been clickbait and my videos haven't been truthful at all. And I mean, I usually don't take those comments with any significance, but sometimes I just feel like I want to address them, and in this case I do. So I will not be showing you the comment, but I will be showing those that, they basically commented that, again, that my videos are not true at all and it's just clickbait. Well, a couple days ago, I made a video, large snowstorms may be headed for the northern U.S. And you can see right there, that's the title of it. And a couple days later, I made lots of snow headed towards the northern U.S. And that's not clickbait at all. If you look at the European model, and let's look at some of the new snowfall accumulations for the next 10 days. I mean, that's a lot of snow, especially in the November timeframe, 20 inches. And remember, when I was making these videos, the European model was showing 2 to 3 inches across the Midwest. But again, I foresaw the future with some basic pattern change reading and what the commentators failed to notice, the people that left the comments. The GFS is also showing some great snowfall amounts with these systems. If we look at this, there is a widespread, 6, 7, 8 inches of snow, which is impressive, more impressive than we previously thought. But again, with a few basic pattern rules, with a few basic, with a few years of experience, I nailed that. So see those videos; those were right. Now we're expecting to see a series of storms across the Midwest, which is impressive, and we'll be focusing on. So let's look at the GFS model, and let's look. So first, there's a first piece to the system right here. Notice that there's just loads of moisture in the Southwest. Arizona, New Mexico, California, just getting loads of rain, green, which means rain, and it's the first really storm of the season for them to the significance. Notice it kind of separates into two storms. It's almost like if this energy is just overflowing from this system, and there's quite a bit of snow in the mountains, by the way. Notice the system breaks out around late Wednesday, early Thursday, and it develops into a nice little storm, quite a bit of rain, and the snowfall amounts are going to be a little bit higher than previously thought. These two are going to combine a little bit better than previously thought, and it's going to leave a nice swath of maybe 2 to 4 inches across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the northern parts of Minnesota and North Dakota could see up to 6 inches of snowfall with that. Notice it intensifies quite significantly once it moves into Canada. And then we could see another system right here, kind of like that remaining moisture from this system. Again, you can see Thursday, Friday trekking across these locations. And then looking for a little bit of snow across Michigan and Illinois, and moving on into the Northeast. Now this is where things get really interesting. Notice I said lots of snow is headed towards the United States, and large snowstorms. That was already one large snowstorm, or large system. I'm fairly confident there will be more than just one of these. There will be more than one of these systems. Or two even. And notice, look in the future, this is Monday, Tuesday. You're going to notice that the snowfall amounts just get, sorry about that, that's the phone in the background, I don't know if you can hear it, it's going off. But basically you can see this one is more of a Pacific or a northwestern storm, I guess. It comes from northwest, but it really taps into the Gulf of Mexico moisture and really gets really strong. I mean, holy cow. This is Tuesday, and the models have been consistent with this, especially the European. You're going to notice how, the rain, there's some severe weather to the south, very strong influx of moisture, and just those snowfall amounts would be very, very significant. And this thing would be a huge wind maker for, I mean, just about anywhere in the Midwest. Then we see another load of precip unload into the Northwest with another possible storm we would have to watch right here across the northern plains, and then possibly a fourth one forming. So again, did I call this? Yes. Am I being arrogant? No, because some commentators were commenting about that, and I just wanted to prove you wrong, which I like doing. So let's look at the 5-day outlook, and which basically encompasses that first storm. So notice not awfully much across the Midwest. Some nice snowfall amounts across the Rockies, up to 12 foot. Notice the European has increased definitely for these locations. It's a widespread 4 to 3 to 5 to isolated 6 inches of snow across these locations. And then notice also across parts of Ohio, maybe a little bit of snow, which would be interesting to note. And then with that other system, and that big one I showed you, things just bomb out. I mean, 25 inches across the hot pockets on Minneapolis. Could be potentially getting up to 21.3 inches. Central Iowa maybe up to 7, 8, 9. And this is still very far away, but they've been consistent with this. So it's not really a question of whether or not it'll happen. It's basically how strong will it be and how much snow. And notice the new model run is just coming in, possibly another snowstorm organizing itself right here, which would be, again, noteworthy. And just, kind of pointing out that, again, my videos are not clickbait. They've been spot on, darn spot on in the past several days. So they usually are, but yeah. And they've stated that I just don't even want to really. I shouldn't really be getting worked over this, but sometimes they do just work me up. Notice that the HER model is actually increasing the snowfall amounts across these locations quite significantly. It's showing already 5, 4, widespread 6, while the GFS shows it, but a little bit less. Notice it's a little bit more isolated, but with the HER model, we get a little bit more precision. And this is, by the way, the GFS with its snow amounts for the Midwest. Notice some fairly strong snowfall amounts. Notice also ridiculous snow for the Northwest. I mean, just absurd amounts. 9, 13, 27. That's nothing. I mean, right there is just pure white. That's above 40, 50 inches of snow. 60 inches easily in the mountains, which is impressive by all means. But let's quickly, again, here's that snowstorm that could be forming in long range. Let's look at the NAM model. I want to quickly show you what it has to show of this snowstorm that's going to happen in the next, or just big storm, I should rather say, next couple of hours. Notice how quite a bit of precipitation is organizing itself by the Canadian border right there in Minnesota. Notice the NAM introduces quite a bit of snow across the plains as well. It's not, maybe not a record-breaking snowstorm, but it's still a powerful storm. Nevertheless, and then if you look at total snowfall, you can see some of the snowfall amounts are, increased and impressive, maybe up to a foot by the Arrowhead, which originally was thinking more around 6 inches. If we look at some other high-resolution model, we see that let's look at the HER model, or sorry, the WRF model. Notice it increases snowfall again around the Arrowhead, but not too much across the central Minnesota area, but still a nice little band of snow, and also not to mention quite some heavy rain with this system, so that's also interesting to note. So this system, snowfall amounts have definitely increased, and you can see the European thinks that as well. Not as much across these locations, but definitely up further north. The next 10 days, you're gonna notice, just a potential blockbuster system, which would be interesting to see how that develops. A Canadian model in terms of this first system, again showing what the others are showing, a fairly powerful system moving through the U.S., dumping a little bit of snow and rain, and then possibly a second one forming after that. The Canadian has been very consistent with that, has been just constantly showing this one, while the other two models, the European and GFS, have been kind of on and off. We'll see what happens. I think that there's a good chance that a second system may spawn out of that, so that'll be interesting to note. You notice the Canadian doesn't really have that second, or that that bomb blockbuster system across Tuesday really being too strong, but it's not really much of my worry, as when the European and GFS agree, I mean, that's a rare occurrence, so it tells you quite a bit. And then you can see it increase, possibly even another system, which just goes to show you that activeness of this pattern, which again is not clickbait and is truthful to every extent. So that's just there to point out. And in terms of temperatures, things are looking chilly as well. Not to mention that we're not really looking at a major warm-up Things are looking on the chilly side for sure, as you can see by the 5-day averages. Really cold across the east and most of them. So generally things are looking pretty chilly for the western and mainly western, rather western than eastern now in the long range than the northern U.S. So that's interesting to point out. You know how we've been witnessing warmer conditions across the eastern U.S. Now it seems that it will be chillier across the north and west. Notice that the European is showing some pretty good signs of sustained, pretty darn cold across the U.S. After next week's storm system. So here is basically what occurred, what we're in right now, a nice little trough. Here's the ridge that happens with that storm system this week. Then we see a kind of on-off with a little bit of warmth, a little bit of chill, especially across the northeast. And then we see that blockbuster system potentially developing, just an absolute bomb cyclone, leaving with quite a bit of chill in the air, which the GFS again introduces itself as well as the ensembles. Noticed by those millibars, noticed by those lines, that would be very, very chillier, and it basically maintains itself for a very extended period of time, obviously bringing some below average temperatures into the country, which would be, significant and impressive to note. So, the only thing that may interrupt the cold airflow is just these storm systems that are going to be kind of popping up from the southern U.S. or just from the west, the southwest, and this could, bring in a little bit of warm air by. But once they pass through, the cold air rushes in right back. So that could be a little bit of on and off, which again is what the snowstorms like. They like these patterns that are unstable and shaky. And they need that flow of warm air in order to get their acts together. So yeah, guys, that's basically it for today's video. Again, thank you so much for watching. And the ensembles, if I were to show you them, they're looking rather chilly overall. There's going to be some periods of warmth, but you can see it gets a little bit chillier across the north and west, especially in a long range. So that is that. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.